Welcome, and thanks for watching our video. Today we're going to take a look at Scream from 1996, a horror film that completely changed the genre and became a worldwide cult classic. With a budget of roughly $14 million, the movie went on to earn over $170 million, eventually spawning a massive franchise. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Scream was directed by Wes Craven, the legend who gave us The Hills Have Eyes and A Nightmare on Elm Street, or rather, nightmares, because there were a lot of them. Fun fact, the movie was originally titled Scary Movie, a name that was later reused for the parody franchise, making fun of this movie and basically every horror trope ever. But enough history. Let's get into the movie now. There's no opening credits scene. The movie jumps straight in with a ringing phone. We meet Casey Becker, who's chatting with a mysterious stranger on the other end of the line. Casey is played by Drew Barrymore, and she filmed all of her scenes in just the first 5 days of production. The mystery caller keeps calling back, and soon we hear what would become an iconic line.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Things escalate very quickly after an unsuccessful horror trivia quiz. After Casey answers a question incorrectly, Mr. Ghostface kills Steve, her boyfriend, and just like that, we get our first kill of the movie. Hide and seek can officially begin. Fun fact, when Ghostface smashes his head through the window and Casey hits him in the face with the phone, that's actually Wes Craven in the costume getting hit for real. In the end, Casey is brutally killed by the masked killer. All we hear afterward is her mother screaming, and boom, second kill. This opening was a genius twist. Drew Barrymore was the biggest star in the cast and was originally supposed to play Sidney Prescott, but she insisted on playing Casey instead. Her idea was that killing off the most famous actor in the first scene would make the audience believe anything could happen, similar to Janet Leigh's death in Psycho, 1960. Sidney was then recast with Neve Campbell, while Barrymore still got top billing and a big poster appearance just to mess with the audience. The story moves on, and we meet our Sidney Prescott. Her boyfriend Billy climbs through her bedroom window, startling her, a clear callback to Johnny Depp's character in A Nightmare on Elm Street. The next day at school, the place is crawling with reporters and cops. We're introduced to the whole group: Sidney, Billy, Stu, Tatum, and Randy, our resident horror nerd. We love him because he's us. When Sidney comes home, we hear strange noises, a creak from the closet, an unsettling sound after she turns off the TV. She doesn't investigate, but the movie is clearly telling us she's not alone. The killer is already inside. We also learn that Sidney's mother was murdered a year earlier. Sidney lies down for a nap, and once again, the phone rings. Luckily, it's just Tatum. Until it isn't. Mr. Ghostface calls again. Sidney refuses to be intimidated, proving exactly why she's the final girl of this movie. Ghostface attacks her, bursting out of the closet. Fun fact, Ghostface's robe was originally going to be white to make him look more like an actual ghost. Sidney survives and calls the police, who arrive incredibly fast. Suddenly, Billy appears at her window again. His phone falls out. She panics and runs straight into Dewey, the local cop and Tatum's brother. Billy gets arrested for having a cell phone. Yes, I know what you're thinking. Why is owning a phone suspicious? In the mid-1990s, cell phones were still rare, especially for teenagers. Since the killer had been calling the victims, Billy owning one made him immediately suspicious to both the cops and Sidney. We're introduced to Gail Weathers, an ambitious reporter with absolutely zero empathy, who immediately earns herself a fist from Sidney. Sidney stays over at Tatum's place and gets another call from Ghostface, which somehow leads to Billy being released. Back at school, Dewey tells Sidney this.
Don't worry, Sid, it's school. You'll be safe here.
Spoiler alert, he is very wrong. 2 students get expelled for running through the halls wearing Ghostface masks, which is a hint that there might be 2 killers. Sydney is later attacked by Ghostface in the bathroom. Honestly, I have no idea how he got in or out without anyone noticing, but okay. After school, we get a nice Nightmare on Elm Street Easter egg. And then Principal Himbry is killed. Yes, it's a pretty pointless death. Producer Bob Weinstein noticed there were about 30 pages without a death and demanded someone die. The scene also conveniently explains why everyone leaves the party later. Fun fact, Henry Winkler appears in only 3 scenes, all in his office, and asked to go uncredited so he wouldn't overshadow the younger cast. Another fun detail, Tatum wears a number 10 jersey, the same one Johnny Depp wore in A Nightmare on Elm Street. There's a curfew. So naturally, the best idea is to throw a huge party and get drunk while a killer is on the loose. We head into the final act at Stu's house, where the entire group, plus Dewey and Gale, comes together. The first death of the evening belongs to Tatum. She ends up alone in a garage where it is extremely cold. Every time I watch this scene, it frustrates me, because she could have escaped through the open garage door. I don't know about you, but if my classmate had been murdered and I saw a guy in a creepy costume wearing a mask and holding a knife, I wouldn't behave this stupidly. I would throw every beer bottle I could find at him and grab some kind of tool to fight back. Oh, and let's not forget, she could escape through those open garage doors long time ago when she actually had the chance. Anyway, let's move on to the moment when Tatum tries to squeeze herself through an opening that only a cat, a dog, or a hobbit could fit through. Tatum dies. Another kill. Except, not really. Ghostface gets 0 kills here. The garage door gets 1. Easy win. Sydney goes upstairs with Billy while everyone else watches horror movie. Randy explains the rules of surviving a horror film.
You can never have sex. You can never drink or do drugs. Never, ever, ever, under any circumstances say, "I'll be right back."
And honestly, he's not wrong. Billy appears to die. Or does he? A chase begins. We learn the hidden camera has a delay. Randy somehow survives, probably because he follows the rules.
You can never have sex.
The scene where the killer sneaks up behind Randy is the only time the costume is worn by one of the actors. Skeet Ulrich specifically asked to do it himself. The cameraman becomes the next victim. RIP. Sydney somehow escapes. Gale and Dewey arrive, and Gale is about to make all the wrong decisions. Sydney returns to the house, finds Dewey, and he gets stabbed from behind. Final act time! Sydney calls the police. Randy and Stu both appear. She trusts no one and locks them out. Then comes the big reveal. Billy is alive, and he and Stu are the killers. They confess to murdering Sydney's mother 1 year ago, adding another kill to their list. As always, the killers explain their entire plan. They intend to frame Sydney's father and stab each other for realism. Because, sure, why not? Sydney disappears, calls Billy in full Ghostface style. Stu starts losing way too much blood. Turns out stabbing yourself isn't a great idea. Fun fact, when Billy drops the phone and it hits Stu in the head, that moment was completely accidental. Sydney jumps out of the closet and stabs Billy with an umbrella. That scream of pain? Totally real. Skeet Ulrich had metal wiring in his chest from childhood heart surgery. Both killers are down, but we get one last scare and an iconic final line.
Not in my movie.
The movie ends. Final kill count. Sydney's mother, Casey, Steve, the principal, Tatum, and the cameraman. That's 6 kills total.